What up guys, what up guys, what up guys? It is Ian Tubbs coming to you guys right now with another video. Today, I want to talk about wealth and the Bible. I did a video like this before, but now I'm doing another one. Y'all like my new setup? I like my new setup. So, one thing that I really want to discuss today is wealth and the Bible. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we've had different ideas about money. Some have been taught that money is good. Some have been taught that money is bad. I believe that money is a much needed resource. Okay? One thing that I do want to say is to stop being scared of money. Because here's the thing. God put wealth in the earth. God put wealth in the earth. And that can be tracked all the way back to the Garden of Eden. Alright? Check this out. Genesis 2:11 through 12. And this is the NIV translation. It says, "The name of the first is Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic, resin, and onyx are also there." The gold in the land is good. God intentionally put wealth in this earth. For all you know, you could be sitting on a gold mine. Your house can be on top of a gold mine, but don't mine under your house. My house could be on top of a gold mine, but don't mine under my house. And it's even in the New Testament they talk about wealth. For example, Acts chapter 16, Paul meets this woman named Lydia, and Lydia is a businesswoman. She sells purple. Now watch this. Purple was a very valuable thing during that time because purple represented the color of royalty. When people saw purple, they thought of royalty. And purple was not a cheap fabric. In fact, purple dye alone was so valuable that it was worth a soldier's annual wages. I'm talking about purple dye alone. I'm talking about take the fabric out of the equation for a second. I'm talking about the dye alone. Back then was worth a soldier's annual wages. I think a Roman soldier's annual wages, which was 225 denarii, and in today's money, that is $168 for some dye alone. They said you could also compare that to a modern day diamond engagement ring. If the dye alone was that pricey, imagine the fabric. That woman must have been killing it. Another example is in the Old Testament, in 1 Kings chapter 4, when it talks about Elisha, meaning the widow woman. And basically, the widow woman did not have the money that she needed to pay off her debts. So Elisha asked her what she had in her house, and she had a jar of oil. So basically she took that jar of oil and started pouring it out, and she got a bunch of other jars of oil. Next thing you know, she had so much left over that not only could she pay off her debts, but she had enough that her kids could live off of. Wow. And of course, one of the most wealthiest kings, if not the wealthiest king in the Bible, King Solomon. Look at 1 Kings 10 and 4. Both of them, chapter 10 and chapter 4, they talk about the people who came to hear Solomon's wisdom. You had the Queen of Sheba who came, and she brought a lot of gifts to him. Chapter 10 verse 2 says, "Arriving at Jerusalem with the caravan with camels carrying spices and large quantities of gold and precious stones." Skip down to verse 10 where it says, "And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices and precious stones." Solomon was so wealthy that even Jesus mentioned him when Jesus said, "I tell you that not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed as one of these." Now Jesus could have mentioned anybody. He could have mentioned Abraham and Lot. He could have mentioned Job, but he mentioned King Solomon. And it basically talked about kings from all over would come to hear Solomon's wisdom. And every time they came, they would bring him gifts. When you come before a king, you bring gifts. Daniel chapter 5, where it talks about Daniel and King Belshazzar. They had Daniel clothed in purple, put a gold chain on him, and appointed him third highest ruler in the kingdom, all because he went and interpreted what was written on the wall, which stated that King Belshazzar was going to lose his throne. And of course he did. All of these people used their gifts. King Solomon used his gift of knowledge Daniel used his gift of interpretation. Lydia used her gift to create. God has designed wealth. It mentions in the book of Deuteronomy that God has given you the power to acquire wealth. Do not be scared of wealth, but use it. Dominate it. Use what God has given you. Use what God has put in this earth. Use the gifts God has given you and become wealthy. I love y'all. All glory to King Jesus. I'll see you on the next one.